Unnecessary and gratuitous. A shocking assault inside Unit 18. The Workplace Relations Minister accuses DP World of acting in bad faith over the ports dispute. Outbreak investigation. A beach in Perth's north closed due to an algal bloom. And West Australian Sam Welsford claims a stage win in the Tour Down Under. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Briana Shepherd. For the first time, the ABC can reveal footage of a prison guard assaulting a 16-year-old boy inside the notorious Unit 18, less than 2 weeks after it opened inside maximum security adult Casuarina prison in mid-2022. Those with intimate knowledge of the justice system say it highlights problems which persist today. And a warning, this report by Kian Burke contains footage some viewers might find confronting.
This is the critical moment.
It's completely inexcusable, completely unnecessary and over the top.
If there was enough officers, enough juvenile officers, that probably wouldn't have happened.
Less than 2 weeks after it opened, these images released to media were replaced by a panicked Code Red riot. Detainees throw items at staff from a balcony. Specially trained youth custodial officers are joined by guards summoned from across the prison who don't normally work with juveniles. They try to regain control, some with chemical spray, others with riot shields.
You've got heightened tensions of officers when they attend, heightened adrenaline, no training, large number of officers in a small area.
The first group of young people is led away. It's understood they weren't involved and weren't fighting back. As the 16-year-old walks through in handcuffs, he's kneed and pushed by Daniel Travis Ratton, a prison officer with 23 years' experience who hadn't been rostered to work in Unit 18 with juveniles before. He was later found guilty of assault, fined $5,000 and given a spent conviction.
The young person was being escorted. It looks as if they may have had handcuffs on. To me, it looks like gratuitous violence, not necessary force.
I don't excuse that in any way, but as an employer, the Department of Corrective Services owes it to prison officers and to juvenile officers to provide them with the right facility, the right training, the right number of staff and a safe working environment.
Even though the incident happened behind those walls about a year and a half ago, both men say there are still lessons to learn about what's happening today.
If this, as the government says, is a complex, challenging, sometimes violent group of young people, well, people need to be trained to respond to that and respond appropriately.
There is no additional training. In fact, no guidelines for them to work within. And Unit 18 is not where juveniles should be.
Prison officers rostered to work at Unit 18 receive appropriate training, according to the Department of Justice, but it refused to say what that is or if other guards at Casuarina who respond to emergencies are given any guidance. Kian Burke, ABC News.
Thousands of Goldfields and Wheatbelt residents have been without power since yesterday evening following a storm, as temperatures reached the low 40s in some areas. In Kalgoorlie-Boulder, the backup generator for the town has not kicked in as expected, causing frustration.
A long line of vehicles all queuing for fuel in Kambalda, after service stations in Kalgoorlie and Coolgardie were forced to close because of the power outage. Businesses were shuttered too. Thousands of homes left with no electricity and people unable to check on loved ones.
We can't contact any friends to see how they're going or if they've got power or, so it's that's hard.
Residents finding ways to cool down and support each other.
Thank you, have a good day. Doing well.
But the temperature reaching 41 degrees and no power for fridges, it's creating health concerns.
It's just to the patients that need medication. So you usually can stretch it out for 1 or 2 days, but then if it goes longer than that, then the healthcare in the goldfields will be held back.
Western Power is working to restore electricity to all affected homes and businesses, but could not say when power would be fully restored. Compounding the problem, backup generators in Kalgoorlie-Boulder also failing.
By now it should have been turned on. It's impacting a lot of people.
If they spent a 1/100th of what this is going to cost our community in maintaining those backup generators, this wouldn't have happened.
It's not just the power that has been affected by the severe weather, it's water too. This afternoon, the Water Corporation said some smaller communities and farms in the wheat belt now had no water, and it's asking people in the region to limit their water use. Giulia Bertoglio, ABC News, Kalgoorlie.
The Workplace Relations Minister has ruled out intervening in a pay dispute between Australia's second largest port operator and the Maritime Union. Earlier, Tony Burke met with both parties and accused DP World of acting in bad faith. The stoush is leading to major delays at ports across the country.
Roger Fletcher runs a business exporting meat, wool and grains across the world. If his products get stuck at the docks, he says he'll lose customers.
If we can't deliver to our customers on time, we're completely buggered.
Roger and others have been calling on the federal government to step in and end a pay dispute between maritime workers and DP World. It's led to major disruptions at the ports with a backlog of tens of thousands of containers.
The Albanese government simply should not allow the union to keep holding the rest of Australia to ransom.
But Industrial Relations Minister Tony Burke, who met with the company today, won't intervene.
I think Australians are sick to death of having highly profitable companies say everything is the fault of them having to pay their workforce the same as their competitors.
Former competition watchdog boss Graham Samuel says companies like DP World are charging importers and exporters excessive fees to use the ports.
Charges should be the subject of a mandatory code of conduct which would be dealt with, overseen and enforced by the ACCC.
Economists worry that the prices of goods imported, like electronics and fresh produce, could also rise.
If stuff can't make it into the country but people still want to buy it, you've got the same number of buyers chasing less stuff. That's going to push the price up, and that's a problem for inflation.
Mr Fletcher fears continued delays could mean foreign countries stop buying Australian goods.
Who I'm sorry for is the trade missions that run around the world trying to get trade. Austrade, they must be tearing their hair out.
DP World says the economic impact warrants intervention, but that it will work within the Fair Work Commission process to ensure a resolution. Nassim Khadem, ABC News.
There's more evidence the economy is slowing. Tens of thousands of people lost their jobs before Christmas, all were full-time roles. Outside of the pandemic, December saw the biggest losses in the jobs market in 3 decades.
This cafe is losing a much-loved employee. Jack Creed just quit so he can move back home.
Because I can't afford to live in Melbourne anymore, and so I'm moving back to Echuca.
Jack's boss is now filling the role.
A year ago we didn't get a single response for an ad. Now we've been inundated with people looking for work.
So do you feel that people are a little bit more desperate for work at the moment?
Definitely.
Around 65,000 jobs were lost before Christmas, but almost 66,000 people also stopped looking for work in December. This prevented the unemployment rate from rising from 3.9%.
Things are turning away from workers compared to a few months ago. The labour market is now decidedly less tight than it was at the start of 2023.
The figures have seen some correction after very high figures that came forward in October and November.
This is the biggest loss of jobs in a month outside COVID since the early 1990s. The stark reality is that this is part of the Reserve Bank's plan to cool down the economy, and these figures may take pressure off the central bank to keep hiking rates. Matt Johnson, who works in construction, is worried about job cuts.
If there's a massive downturn, I'll possibly get laid off. Hopefully there's an incline in employment, but yeah, it's not looking great.
Matt's mother, who cuts his hair for free, is down one worker on a year ago.
We used to have another hairdresser work with us, and there's not the demand for it, so I'm just doing it myself.
Some economists are tipping the unemployment rate will rise to 4.5% by the end of the year. Amelia Terzon, ABC News.
A new overnight space to house at-risk youth roaming the streets of Broome at night will open to keep them safe and ease pressure on police. Police and community groups across the Kimberley regularly deal with children out late and unaccompanied, with 800 young people picked up by Broome Police last year alone. On request of police, a new immediate response night space will be set up and run by the Kalari Regional Communities Indigenous Corporation, giving police somewhere safe to take the kids. It's due to open mid-year and will link young people with service providers.
Connecting them back home to families is something that is required. Keeping them safe while that happens is important, and the community has called that on several occasions. This will also give room for police to continue policing.
Beachgoers in Perth's north say they're frustrated by a lack of transparency following the closure of a popular swimming spot due to an outbreak of potentially harmful algae. Authorities say the bloom was sparked by the recent heatwave, but locals are adamant an offshore sewage pipe is to blame.
Ordinarily teeming with ocean lovers of all ages, Malalo Beach is now all but deserted, with swimmers told to keep out of the water. The cause of the concern, a bloom of trichodesmium, a fine algae also known as sea sawdust. Clumps of the brown bloom formed after days of high heat, combined with nutrient-rich water, posing a risk to public health. Long-term locals believe a sewage outlet pipe some 1,500 metres offshore is largely to blame.
It's rated by the National Outfall Database as one of the worst in Australia.
Aerial vision reveals the full extent of the issue. Yesterday's strong northerly winds blowing strings of algae back into the beach.
It's disappointing, and hopefully they'll be able to do something quickly to help sort it out.
It's very unattractive, and you don't know what's actually in there.
Kim Allen has been swimming at Malalo every day for decades. He claims concerns about the ocean reef pipe have been ignored by authorities for years.
Frustration, anger, and I guess it's this lack of transparency and collaboration between agencies and the community.
Local MP Caitlin Collins is also concerned for the future of the beach, helping to arrange a meeting with locals and representatives from the Water Corporation and the Department of Water.
In terms of the algae bloom that we have here at the moment, I've had confirmation from Water Corp that it is, there's been no changes in the conditions of the pipeline in the last few days.
The Water Corporation says there's no link between the treated wastewater pipe and the algal bloom. The corporation says the outfall is operating normally and in line with regulations. The beach is expected to remain closed until at least early next week. David Webber, ABC News.
Foreign Minister Penny Wong has reiterated a pathway to peace during her diplomatic tour of the Middle East. Tensions in the region remain on edge as the United States launched a fourth wave of strikes against Houthi rebel-controlled sites in Yemen. The minister walked a delicate tightrope as she met with Israeli and Palestinian officials separately.
It's a real privilege to come back here.
At Israel's official Holocaust memorial, Foreign Minister Penny Wong learns about the horrors of World War II, with an eye on the current conflict and a message for all those involved.
One of the things that is a takeout for me is the importance of us all remembering our common humanity.
Just an hour away, the top diplomat then travelled into the occupied Palestinian territories, where Palestinians claim they've been increasingly stripped of their humanity since October 7.
Yet we can see Israeli settlements.
More than 500,000 Israeli settlers live illegally in the West Bank, and violent incidents on Palestinians have surged during the war.
We're also to listen to you.
Meeting with affected communities, the senator stressed her view that settlement building was inconsistent with a pathway to a two-state solution.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
A view welcomed by the Palestinian Prime Minister.
I was very encouraged to hear a very strong statement from the minister on issues that has to do with settlements and the Australian opposition of settlement construction.
Penny Wong is the most senior Australian official to have come to Israel and the West Bank since October 7. And she's reaffirmed her support for a ceasefire in Gaza and more humanitarian assistance. But her tour in the Middle East has had one overarching theme.
I am here to add our voice, Australia's voice, to advancing the cause of peace.
Both Israeli and Palestinian officials say the senator's visit shows solidarity with their people.
Australia is a friend of Israel's. We are also a friend of the Palestinian people.
She'll finish her regional tour in the United Arab Emirates on Thursday. Alison Horn, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Both King Charles and the Princess of Wales will be away from public duties temporarily for health reasons. The Princess is recovering from successful abdominal surgery. Next week, the King will have treatment for an enlarged prostate.
Inside this London hospital, Princess Kate is recovering from surgery to her abdomen.
It's clearly a problem for Buckingham Palace. It's a tricky situation.
The Princess had the planned operation on Tuesday. Her office provided no further details, but said her condition wasn't cancerous.
Based on her age, based on her fitness, her recovery should be straightforward. And as long as she looks after herself and not rush back to her very, very busy schedule.
And she won't be. The Princess will be in hospital for up to 2 weeks and is unlikely to return to public engagements until after Easter.
The Princess has expressed through a spokesperson that she understands there'll be significant interest in her surgery, but her focus right now is maintaining normality for her children.
Less than 2 hours after the news of Kate, it was revealed King Charles would also be stepping back from royal duties for health reasons. In a statement, Buckingham Palace said, in common with thousands of men each year, the King has sought treatment for an enlarged prostate. His Majesty's condition is benign and he will attend hospital next week for a corrective procedure. The King hopes his treatment will encourage more men to get their prostate checked.
Well, I hope it will open those conversations that men can have with each other. And hopefully with their GP. Sometimes we hear men talk about how they find it embarrassing to talk about any prostate problems. But I think it's fantastic that, again, it opens the opportunity to really understand that prostate problems are common and they're nothing to be embarrassed about.
The King, who was last seen in public on Christmas Day, hopes to be back at work in a few weeks' time. Elias Kluwer, ABC News, London.
To finance now, and the share market has dropped to its lowest level in 5 weeks, while, as we heard earlier, the job market is getting increasingly competitive. Here's David Chow.
65,000 workers were let go in December, just before Christmas. And while that's an incredibly high number, so was the 381,000 workers who were recruited last year as employers went on a hiring spree. Overall, the labour market has shrunk back to where it was in October, just as the Black Friday sales were about to heat up. Unfortunately, the job hunt will only get more difficult, especially given Australia's population grew by more than 600,000 people last year and will still rise quickly in the months ahead, while the number of positions and job ads are trending downwards. So what will this mean for interest rates? Money markets are betting rates have hit their peak and the Reserve Bank will probably stay on hold for a while. But as the year goes on, they're pricing in a 100% chance of a rate cut by September, as inflation is likely to have come down enough for interest rates to be relaxed a little. Meanwhile, it was another bad day for the share market, which has been falling for almost every day this year. The All Ords slipped by 0.6% today, driven by losses across the mining sector. The Aussie dollar also tumbled down to about 65.5 US cents, having dropped 4% since the year began. It comes after a gloomy session for most of the major overseas markets, as doubts linger on how quickly central banks in the US and Europe will cut their interest rates. And finally, it was a rough day for commodities as well, with fairly significant falls in gold, oil and iron ore prices. And that's finance.
Sport, and Australian Max Purcell put on a show on day 5 of the Australian Open but fell agonisingly short in a 5-set thriller against world number 11 Casper Ruud. And in the women's draw, reigning French Open champion Iga Swiatek survived an almighty scare on centre court.
The heavens opened and the roofs closed early on day 5, the brief intermission giving Australian world number 45 Max Purcell a boost.
What a way to do it!
But the 25-year-old's hopes of reaching the third round of a Grand Slam for the first time were dashed by Norwegian 11th seed Casper Ruud in a gruelling 5th set tiebreak.
Look, I made a lot of errors, but I think that helped me stay free for the whole match and allowed me to, almost get across the line at the end.
Runner-up in 2022, Danielle Collins pushed the world number 1 to the brink.
Well, the Danielle Collins backhand has joined the party.
Iga Swiatek snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. At 4-1 down in the deciding set, a 5-game winning streak turning her fortunes around. Even if she wasn't sure how she pulled it off.
I don't even know. Honestly, I was on the airport already.
The outside courts were kept quiet by the rain in the afternoon. Alexander Zverev not impressed by the local wildlife taking shelter on John Cain Arena as he battled Slovakian qualifier Lucas Klein through tie breaks in the 4th and 5th sets to win through to the 3rd round. Last night, 2 more Aussies bowed out with their heads held high. Jordan Thompson nabbing the first set against last year's runner-up Stefanos Tsitsipas, but the world number 7 eventually found his rhythm and never looked back. Alexei Popyrin also put up a fight.
That's the wow moment he was looking for.
Before Novak Djokovic fired up in more ways than one to claim his 2nd round victory, taking issue with a heckling spectator.
For him, he didn't have the courage to come down.
Erin Marsico-Vetere, ABC News, Melbourne Park.
Josh Hazlewood has put Australia on the verge of victory after just 2 days of play in the first test at Adelaide Oval. Travis Head knocked a century in front of his home crowd to give Australia the lead before Hazlewood tore through the West Indies top order late in the 3rd session.
Usman Khawaja and Cameron Green resumed play on day 2. Shamar Joseph continuing his remarkable debut as Green was sent back for just 14.
Yes, a genuine edge.
Travis Head helped settle things down, firing off 4 quick boundaries. But the morning session belonged to the visitors, with 3 wickets before lunch.
That's what they need. Big breakthrough for the West Indies.
Head moved beyond 50 after the break, finding the boundary more freely. As wickets fell around him, he stood resolute on a pitch that others found difficult.
Again, he just gets into line and guides it down to 3rd.
Joseph had his 4th when Mitchell Starc was caught at short leg, before Head had his moment, knocking his 7th Test century in front of his home crowd.
They have come and they're thousands here to the Adelaide Oval and their golden boy has delivered for them.
The local boys' knock finally came to an end on 119 to a standing ovation around the Oval. Joseph's moment following soon after with the new ball.
Straight through, Shamar Joseph!
Breaking through for his 5th wicket. Australia all out with a lead of 95. The visitors were sent back in the 3rd session of play. Josh Hazlewood tearing through the top order, taking 4 wickets in his first 5 overs.
Oh, is that a nick? It is! Straight away, Josh Hazlewood on the money.
The West Indies left reeling at 6 for 73, trailing by 22 runs. Cameron Slesser, ABC News.
The Perth Scorchers are sweating on the fitness of opener Stephen Eskinazi as they prepare for their Big Bash elimination final against the Adelaide Strikers on Saturday. Eskinazi suffered a hand injury in Tuesday's loss to the Sydney Sixers, with the batter forced to retire hurt early in the Scorchers' innings. The Scorchers have also lost middle-order import Laurie Evans, but signed Marcus Harris earlier in the week. Perth Vice-Captain Josh Inglis says the side is up to the challenge of covering the loss of key players.
Someone's got to cover the runs, don't they? No, I think this group really prides itself on how we adapt in tough situations. We've done it in the past, losing guys to Australia and to injuries as well.
Perth Wildcats coach John Rillie says his side has the depth to cover missing bigs Kieran Doolittle and Alex Sarr. Doolittle will miss at least tomorrow night's clash with Brisbane with concussion, but could return for Sunday's clash with Sydney, while Sarr has been ruled out for another week with an ongoing hip injury. Bryce Cotton has been cleared to play after missing training yesterday with a sore throat. Billy says the absence of the two players is an opportunity for other members of his squad.
Dave Aquera gets an opportunity to impact rebounding-wise. Jordan Usher, Corey Webster, Michael Harris then can influence the game from a scoring point of view.
West Australian Sam Welsford has claimed a second stage win in the men's Tour Down Under, winning a sprint finish in Adelaide's eastern suburbs. Hometown rider Tristan Saunders was named most combative rider after leading most of the race, but the ochre jersey remains on the shoulders of Mexican Isaac Del Toro Romero.
A second cool day was welcome for riders as they departed Adelaide's northeast for a ride through the vines. Team Australia's Luke Burns broke away almost immediately in his pursuit of the polka dot jersey, followed by teammate and Adelaide local Tristan Saunders.
Looks like it's one of his own teammates coming out to come across to him.
Despite being joined in the breakaway by Axel Mario and Stefan de Bod, Burns claimed his prize, maximum points for the King of the Mountain, before dropping back to the peloton.
Is that it? Can I go back?
What do I do?
To the main field? Is that my job done, or do I stay with him?
And after the Frenchman Mario won both the Preem sprints, Saunders took the opportunity to strike out on his own.
A little bit antisocial of you to be out there all on your own for so long.
Yeah, no, I don't mind a little solo ride.
Saunders held out as long as he could, but the peloton reformed just ahead of a high-speed finish down Adelaide's hills.
A superb effort, 114 kilometres out front.
The twisty descent claimed a few victims from Team Astana, but the finish belonged again to West Australian Sam Welsford, who took his second stage win for the Tour in Campbelltown.
The boys put me in the perfect position all downhill, and yeah, I couldn't believe when I crossed the line again.
The victory hands Welsford the teal sprinters jersey with Luke Burns back in polka dots.
Got maximum points and then back to the Pelo. And then good to see Tristan have a great ride off the front as well.
Saunders was named most combative rider, while Mexican Isaac Del Toro Romero will ride in ochre for at least one more day. Tomorrow's Stage 4 will see riders follow the river from Murray Bridge before finishing in Port Elliot on the Fleurieu Peninsula. Daniel Litchens, ABC News.
The Socceroos' second group stage match against Syria at the Asian Cup will kick off in just a few minutes, and coach Graham Arnold says he's expecting a tough encounter. The Australians have finalised their preparations for the clash in Qatar following their 2-0 win over India in their tournament opener. Arnold says his side needs to improve in attack against the Syrians, who have troubled the Socceroos in recent meetings.
We've watched Syria and we know they've got some strengths, but you know, it's about us tidying up the things that didn't work against India. As I said, I can't control too much what Syria do, but I can with us, and it's important that we get that right.
Turning to the weather now, and it certainly was a cooler change for the city, while other parts of the state still sweltered through the heat. Right now in town, it's 23 degrees and humidity is 60%. Perth's minimum was 21.2 degrees at 4:05 this morning, rising to a coolish top of 26.8 at 1:55 this afternoon. The state's coolest spot was Ayr, which recorded a minimum of 6 degrees, while in the north the state's highest maximum was 44, and that was reached at Telfer. To the satellite, and cloud swirling over the northeast with a monsoon trough and low is causing showers and some storms, some intense. Cloud bubbling about parts of the northwest is also leading to showers and storms. Cloud over the south in cool onshore winds is producing some light showers. A tropical low over inland parts of the Northern Territory may move closer to the WA-NT border during the weekend. A high pressure ridge remains to the south of the state, while a low pressure trough moves east over eastern districts. Taking a quick look around the country tomorrow, sunny in Adelaide, Hobart and Sydney, a shower or two clearing for Melbourne, a shower or two for Hobart and Brisbane, with showers and a possible storm set for Darwin. Back to WA, and in the north, very hot over the Pilbara, showers and gusty thunderstorms over the Kimberley, possibly heavy at times over eastern parts of the region. Chance of a shower or thunderstorm over the Pilbara, northern interior and inland northern Gascoyne. Very hot over the Gascoyne, Goldfields, interior and Eucla. Possible light showers along the Albany coast. In Perth, partly cloudy tomorrow, top of 28 after an overnight low of 18. Sunrise will be at 28 minutes past 5, setting at 25 past 7. Looking ahead, sunny and warming up a little for the weekend, 33 on Saturday and 31 on Sunday, with a cooler change on Monday. Temperatures set to hover between 27 and 28 degrees for the first half of next week. And that's ABC News for now. I'll be back with you tomorrow. In the meantime, you can stay up to date with ABC News online, or you can catch news anytime on ABC iView. It's been a pleasure having your company. Stay with us for 7:30.